Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be playing chess. Now, if you've ever played chess or watched chess content before, you've probably heard of the name Stockfish. Stockfish is one of the best chess computers in the world, if not the best chess computer, and it's able to do some insane things and beat all the humans, and it has a rating of 3500 or even higher. It's just really good at chess. But today we will not be playing Stockfish. In fact, we will be playing its distant cousin, the large language models, specifically Google Bard, Claude Plus from Anthropic, and GPT-4 from OpenAI. So we will be playing 3 different large language models and see how they do, and sort of, can we beat these LLMs, or will they be better than us? So I play these games live on my Twitch along with 2 friends, and I think our chess ratings, obviously I'm the lowest, and we do have a person who is in the, I think, the mid-thousand elos. So I think our chess rating would be hovering around, 1,000, 1,200. So we'll see how we fare versus these AI bots, whether or not we will be destroyed by them, or if we will destroy these AI bots. So this is sort of a recap of everything that happens. So I've made a slideshow with what the AI bot said, what we told the bot, and what the bot said back. And I'm just gonna go over some of the key moments and things that happened. And we're gonna start with this game with Google Bard versus humans. And we humans had the white pieces, Google Bard had the black pieces. And let's get started. So the first thing I said, let's play a game of chess. You're black. I played 1e4. What is your move? So we made our first move, 1e4, and it responds with e6, which is the French defense. And in fact, it is the French defense, and it's a pretty decent opening. And we went on with d4. Because if your opponent doesn't really take the center, you should probably take the center. And Google Bard responds with d5, which is a good move, challenging the pawn center. Next move we did was knight c3. Knight c3 is sort of attacking this pawn, so that if we take it, they take it. We can sort of attack that. Obviously we won't take back because the queen's protecting that spot as well. And then it responds with bishop b4, which is the winnower variation, one of the lines in the French defense. So far, it is 100% correct in what it says, and it's expected, right? These large language models have learned these different chess variations in a lot of chess literature, and people talk about these variations a lot. So it makes sense that these chess bots know these variation names and what moves to play, because this is in the training data and this is stuff that has been trained on. And what it says right now is it's pinning the knight on c3 and forcing me to make a decision on how to develop it. And what that means is I can't really move the knight right now, because if you move it, there is a discovered check on your king. So that's sort of what we need to do. Now in this moment we played e5, which is a pretty interesting move. A lot of people usually would do some sort of takes, but you can't really take because it'll take back, and you can't really take back. So we just sort of close the center and push forward, and now none of our pawns can move. It's sort of opposing each other, and that's not a bad move. And in response to this, Google Bard plays knight f6, moving the knight out and protecting its pawn on e6 somehow, but it's not really good. And as you see, the eval bar has dropped from pretty much even to kind of losing. And the reason why is because that knight is completely like, it's just under attack. You're moving it into a pawn that we can take. And so that's what we did. We took the knight. We thought it was some big brain move. Obviously, we didn't have the evaluation bar when we were playing these bots to make it fair. But we just took, and we are completely winning because we're up 3 points of material. In this position, Google Bard says, I will respond with bishop xc3. Bishop xc3, which is taking our knight, putting our king into check. And there's a pretty simple move in this position. Obviously, it's not the only move. We can obviously block with the bishop, but we just took the bishop because we could, and that's usually what you do. Now we have doubled pawns, which is kind of bad, but hey, it's better than potentially losing another bishop as well. Okay, and we told that we played bxc3, and the bot responds with c5, pushing out a pawn, which again, if you saw the eval bar, it moved from 3 to 6 because that is once again a non-defended pawn, and it's just free. And this pawn was not taken, and this is now gonna cause some problems because we're attacking the rook, and this pawn's just sitting there. And we told it that, and it figured out that the rook is under attack. And so it moved rook g8, which is very smart because you don't want to lose your rook. And it also told a possible continuation of the game, which we did not use because we wanted to use our own brains, and we responded with bishop h6. Bishop h6 is one of the best moves by Stockfish because what that does is, hey, you can't take our pawn, and it's kind of just sitting there. It doesn't really do anything. Obviously, these two squares are being attacked, but you can't take it, and we're just sitting there. And we told Bard that, and it says I will respond with queen c8, which is where we get to our first illegal move by Bard, which is amazing. You cannot do that because your bishop is there, and we said, hey, you cannot do that. And it wants to play queen d8, which is also an illegal move because its queen is already on d8. And we said pick a different move, and it says knight c6, which is legal, so we made it play that. And then we played dxc5, which is just taking the pawn. It's a free pawn. And in this position, it was like, I will respond with exd5, which is taking its own pawn. Another illegal move. We said you can't do that. Those are your pawns. It wants to play bishop c8, which its bishop is already on. It wants to play rook hg8, which it already played. It wants to do kingside castle, which it can't because it is now, it's not a thing because the rook already moved. It's not a thing because the rook already moved, and we told it that you cannot. And it wants to play the bishop to c8, which of course it can't do that. And then it says knight c6, which it already played, and we're sort of getting into a loop. You can see it wants to short castle, which it can't. And we're like, hey, here are the moves so far, just in case if you forgot, please choose a different move. And it was like, I'm just gonna castle. And then it says, I want to move my knight to f8, which there is no knight to move to f8. You can't teleport there. I'll move my bishop to d6, which is not illegal because that's a knight move, not a bishop move. And it's like, oh, I have no more pieces to move. I will pass, which is really funny. And this is where I went like this. Because you can't pass in chess. And we said, you can't pass in chess. You must make a move. What is your move? And it said, I apologize for the confusion. I have no more legal moves. Therefore, I resign the game. Great. We have our first winner, which is humans. It is not necessarily losing. Obviously, it's losing by 7 points of material. But, you know, if Stockfish could probably bring this back and beat us. And it'll see something insane. But it's definitely a losing position, and Bard just gives up. So that's the first of 3 games. Let's move on to the second game. Okay. Claude plus versus humans. Now, Claude does have the white pieces this time, because I thought, hey, maybe the black pieces are a little bit too hard. We'll let the AI bots do the attacking. So first we said, let's play a game of chess. You're white. What is your first move? It plays e4. Very strong move. My favorite move. Pretty good. We played e5, and then plays knight f3, which attacks that pawn. Of course, we gotta guard it with knight c6, and it plays bishop e5. Pins the knight to the king, but it doesn't, because we have a pawn here. If we had moved the pawn up, it does actually pin the knight to the king, but in this case we have a pawn here. It doesn't do anything. It's not a threat. So that's a incorrect statement, but that's okay. We play d6 to further protect this pawn. And it decides to develop its light squared bishop further, bishop x c6, taking our knight. Now this is now a pin, which is correct. So after it takes, we gotta either protect or just take back with the pawn. And that's what we did. And in this case, I first sent bishop bx c6, so taking with a pawn, and it just sort of analyzed the game, and I had to kind of prompt it, what is your move? And it wants to short castle, which is completely legal. So far it has made all the legal moves. It's done a Rui Lopez opening, and it's okay. It's doing okay. And next we played bishop a6, attacking the rook. Now in this position, it's not the best move for us, because that's, you know, it's not that big of a threat. And as you can see, white gets kind of an advantage, but we wanted to test to see if Bard would remember the rook is on f1 after a short castle. And of course it does. Or at least maybe it doesn't, and it just decided to develop the rook to e1. And it might have been sort of luck. It might have been actually knowing. It thought it was pinning. It thought we were pinning its knight. We were not. We were in fact attacking the rook, but that's okay. In this position, we decided to do knight f6. I don't remember what exactly our rationale here was. It was okay, I guess, but you know, you can't really take that. There's not really too much to do. And in this position, it says you are threatening the e4 pawn, which is correct. So it did d3. Not bad. You know, we can't take it for sure now. And we decided to respond with bishop e7. Which is okay. It just develops the bishop one square and sort of protects our knight further, but it's an okay move. In this case, Claude decides to do bishop b2. Sorry. Claude decides to make this move, bishop b2, which if you take a look, you can't really do that because it's blocked by the pawn. And of course it goes off with the whole position's roughly even with the following attributes, and it's completely wrong. You can't do bishop b2. So in this case, we're like, hey, you cannot do that. Choose a different move. And it wants to short castle kingside. And that's another illegal move. We said you've already castle kingside, please pick a different move. And it wants to do rook e2. And that is a legal move. So we allowed it to do that, even though that move basically does nothing. In fact, that kind of makes it slightly losing. We were okay with that, and we castled ourselves. As you can see, Claude is sort of chatting a lot and sort of apologizing after every move that it made mistakes, but you know, let's see if it makes more mistakes. At least it got through like 7 moves without making mistakes, and it started making mistakes on the 8th move, which is, I think, slightly more improvement than Bard. We said we short castled. It wants to move knight to d2, which is legal. And then we said we will move d5, which sort of attacks this pawn. Sorry. In this position, we obviously had to clarify because there were 2 knights that was eligible to move to d2. And it clarified that it wanted this one to move, and we just attacked the pawn. And in this position, we said we play d5, and it says ex d5, which takes our pawn, and we take back, undoubling our pawn. So we had double pawns. Now we are looking pretty okay. And then next we Claude says knight f5, which is sorry, this way. Can't really do that. So we said to pick a different move, and it really wants to do bishop d3, which it can't really do that either. So we were like, hey, you can't do that. And it was like, I'm gonna long castle now, which you can't do. There's 4 out of 4 pieces, all the pieces, well, technically 3 pieces in the middle of the long castle. None of them have been moved, and the king already castled. So we're like, you can't do that. Here are the moves that you can. Here's the moves that have been made, and it decided to choose c3. Which, as you can see in the eval bar, is a really bad move. But hey, it was told, hey, you can't do this, and c3 is an okay move. You can move the pawns. It's okay. And we decided to just take with our bishop, threatening to capture the rook. And in this position, it wants to do queen x d3. It wants to take with the queen. Now, if the knight wasn't here, if you haven't moved the knight, you could do that. But you can't in this current position. Oh, you can't in this current position. So we were like, can't do that. Make a different move. And it decides to do knight x d3, which none of the knights can do that. And then we were like, you can't do that. And it was like, hey, I'll just move b3. Moving the pawn up. And that's a really bad move because you just left your rook hanging, and of course we're gonna take it. And in this position, it was like, hey, I'm gonna do bishop x e2. Not a legal move. And we were like, rook x e2, which the rook was already taken. It was just taken by us. And it was like, hey, I'm going to do queen c2, which might be slightly lucky because we were going to take the queen next. But now the queen escapes. We push with d4. And it decides to do queen e2, which again, moving through the knight, you can't do that. We give it the full move order, and it's like bishop e2, which is a legal move. So we let it move that. We take on d3 because we move it up to d3 because, hey, your queen's kind of trapped. If your queen takes, we take. If your queen moves here, we take. If your queen moves back, we can't take, but you know, it's really bad right now. And of course, Claude decides to do b4, which completely ignores the fact that we were attacking the queen, and we just take. And in this position, we spent a couple of times. Oh well, it was like, first it was like, hey, it's illegal. We had to prove that it was legal. And it decides to start moving its queen. It doesn't know its queen was taken. And we spent the next couple of moves, and you can see after paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs, it kept making illegal moves. And we finally decided to say, hey, moving the king, it decided to move the king to f1, and we were like, moving the king to f1 is moving into a check, so you cannot do that. And we were getting fed up because it was taking way too long, and we said, if you cannot figure out a legal move, you should resign. And in this case, Claude said, you're completely correct. My apologies again for the missing check on the suggested king move to f1. At this point, I've suggested multiple incorrect moves, correct, and do not seem to be able to determine a safe and legal move for my position. Rather than to continue to make illegal move suggestions, it's best for me to resign this game. And with that, Claude also resigns, and the humans have won 2-0. And let's see if GPT-4 from OpenAI is able to help secure at least one win for the bots. It's not looking very good. Stockfish is watching on the sidelines, very, very disappointed. All right, here we go. Here is humans versus GPT-4, and we decided to start with the white pieces because GPT-4 is, we thought, probably going to be strong. Now, GPT-3 is the previous, or ChatGPT. Previously, people have made it play chess and made it, and it made a bunch of illegal moves all over the place. So we were hoping that we either get that or we get a very solid game of chess from GPT-4. And let's just get started. Now, with GPT-4, I just said, hey, we're going to play a game of chess, and it just sort of gave us the moves. So I kind of just put all the moves up so you can see that the bot did give us these moves. We did e4, and it did c4, which is the Sicilian defense. We did bishop c4, it did e6, knight c3, a6, a4, knight. Let me go to the game review tab actually, which would show you the moves. So book moves, book moves, book move. This is our first non-book move, and keeps making good moves. The book move, and at this point we are on d4, and this is the first point of capture, and it makes a good capture. And we said, hey, we will take with the knight, obviously, because if we don't take with the knight, it's a free knight. It decides to develop the knight, and it continues. We move our knight out of danger, because it was capturable, even though it was defended by the queen. And we decided to keep moving certain moves. We castle, GPT-4 castles. We move our rook out, moves its queen out. We also move our queen. It moves a pawn up. And this is a point where we made a mistake. And apparently we should have connected the rooks, and we thought this was a good move because, hey, pawn takes, queen takes, right? It's not gonna do that. Sorry, pawn takes, knight takes, queen takes, rook takes. That's what we saw, but that's not the best move order because apparently knight takes, pawn takes, and you're just down a pawn. We didn't see that. I mean, you could force the queens off, but that's about it. Anyways, it decides to capture the pawn, which is an okay move. And we take with the knight, which is completely losing apparently. It takes with the knight, and we attack with the bishop. And then it decides to do this move. Sorry. Let's just say up to pawn move 13, nothing has gone wrong yet. There's no illegal moves, which is more impressive than Google Bard and Claude Plus. And as you can see, for the next 21 moves, no illegal moves either. It's just completely moves that are normal. But in this case, GPT-4 decides to make the error to take our bishop with the knight, which is not really good. And we decided to play bishop takes queen. It completely forgot that there was a queen there, and we had a bishop attacking the queen. And yeah, that's the first part of the downfall, because we are now up 4 points, 3 points of material, 4 points in advantage. It keeps playing on by capturing another pawn, and we move our rook in to attack the knight. The knight escapes. We take the knight with the queen. It decides to move the bishop up to sort of pin the pawn to the king. We take, it takes, we take, moving the bishop out. I'm not too sure what that does. And we take, we trade the rooks. And now we're at a pretty winning position with 7.2 points of advantage. We decided to move our rook out to attack the bishop. It takes our pawn. We check. It blocks with the bishop very well. So in this case, it shouldn't have blocked. If it blocked with the rook, it would have been bad because the bishop's under attack. So it blocked with the bishop that way, which was pretty good. We decided to bring our rook down so we can sort of start potentially making mating threats. Obviously, the knight is guarding that square. It moves its king out, which is okay. Like Stockfish is suggesting to move the pawn forward so the king escapes this way, but you know, it's at least thinking about escaping, because if it doesn't escape from the back rank, it will get back rank checkmated. And we move our rook to attack the other rook, so hopefully we're hoping for a rook trade. It does not do the rook trade, and we just take the rook. It's a free rook. The knight moves out. We move our rook back. The knight moves here to, I guess, attack our queen, but it just completely hung the knight. So we took the knight. Pawn up, so the king can escape if we try to come back to the back rank. And we push our pawn because at this point we were like, hey, we can promote maybe. And we were getting to the end. It decides to do g5, and we move our queen. We move our queen in it does h5, so it's just pushing pawns. And in this position, we do queen e7 check. And this is now, we now have multiple different mate opportunities, including here we can do a ladder mate once it moves away, and it does king to g8, and because of that we have a ladder mate, we have this mate, so many different mate opportunities. We decided to do the ladder mate with with queen takes bishop on e8, and we told it was a check, and it doesn't realize, and it was like, hey, we'll move the king to h7 as if there was still a pawn here, but there isn't. And we were like, hey, that was mate. And GPT-4 does say, you're right, I missed the checkmate, good game, thank you for playing, I'm all done. If you'd like to play again or have any other questions, feel free to ask. So GPT-4 definitely did the best, and as you can see, our slides for the past for GPT-4, I did not have to do multiple slides. I made multiple moves per slide because it doesn't ramble on and talk about what it does, but B, it's made all the moves, all 31 moves were legal. And that is an amazing improvement from GPT-3, in which pretty much like after move like 8 or 9, it started making illegal moves. And that's sort of the thing that we saw with Bard and with Claude, is it didn't really understand where all the pieces are and what to do and those type of things. But with GPT-4, it's able to understand the chessboard so much more, and honestly, I was very impressed by the performance of GPT-4. Even though it lost today, it kind of, I would say, won in that it's gotten better. It's gotten much better than GPT-3, and it's beat out Bard and Claude. Now, whether or not this means GPT-4 or GPT-5 is going to beat Stockfish, that we have yet to see that, but it is amazing that this one generation of large language models has so much improvement. It's finally able to stop making illegal moves, and it's playing at a level after I believe when we ran chess.com's game analysis, it said it was playing at a level of about 1100, which is pretty good for a large language model that wasn't trained to play chess. So yeah, these were the games that we played with these AIs. I hope you enjoyed them, enjoyed watching us go against the AIs, and it's really impressive to see what large language models have been able to come so far, especially in terms of these games. And I'm interested to see if GPT-5 or if Bard gets an improvement or Claude gets an improvement and can play chess much better, and maybe large language models can beat Stockfish. But for now, Stockfish has safely secured its crown for now, and it's able to be the best AI bot to play chess. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This is just a recap of my stream and all the chess moves. I'm not the best at chess commentating because I'm not the strongest chess player in the world, but I hope watching these games was entertaining and you understand, you saw the potential of these bots in terms of playing chess. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you later. Bye bye.